Okay, good morning, everyone. Today we're going to start our next activity, which is going to be an RGB LED activity. So we're going to scroll down here to 4.17. Today we're really going to be concentrating on wiring, and we're going to be concentrating on just like checking our wiring. Okay, so that's our main goal for today, honestly, is just to get this thing wired up. So you guys are going to need your Arduino kits today and your Arduino, obviously, but grab your kit. So we're going to need to make some adjustments to our Arduino. So we're going to need our Arduino, our computer, USB cable. We're going to need our proto shield. We're going to need an RGB LED, which I'll talk to you guys about here in a second. And we're going to need one resistor, anywhere between like 220 ohms to 1,000 ohms will be fine. I'm pretty sure we have 1,000 ohm resistors in our boards right now. Like, those will work just fine. You're going to need 3 wires, a red, a green, and a blue wire. Okay, so inside our bag of LEDs, you're going to find an LED that looks like this. It's going to have 4 separate legs on it. Okay, so it's going to look something like this here. So again, your LEDs should be in the front left bin. And inside of here, there are at least 2, if not more, but I think it's 2 RGB LEDs, which quite frankly, sometimes are a little bit hard to like fish out of here. So I keep pulling out like other LEDs and just work my way to the point where I can like snag this LED out. So close, yet so far. All right, there we go. I'm going to pop all the rest of these LEDs, including the LED that is on our Arduino currently, back into the LED bag. And, you know, you got to look at your Arduino. You probably have stuff on your Arduino, which is different than mine right now, but again, you also need to find a red wire, a blue wire, and a green wire. And on your Arduino already, you should have a resistor. Okay, so grab that stuff out. I'll give you a second to get that, fish that LED out of there. Okay, so once again here, my common cathode is the longest pin. And that's going to be our common ground for all 3 of these. The singular one to the left of it is my red anode. Then I have my green anode, and then finally my blue anode. So I'm going to splay my legs out just a tiny bit. And I'm going to connect this up so that each one of these 4 legs is in their own individual row on my breadboard. Okay, so I have pin 1, pin 2, pin 3, and pin 4. And again, they are all in their own separate rows. Okay, so again, pin 2, which is our most important pin right now. Here, let me zoom in on this. Pin 2, which is our most important pin, for right now at least, is our ground pin. So we're going to take our resistor and we're going to plug it into pin 2, right? So it's in the same row as pin 2. And I'm going to connect the other end of that to ground. So we're just going to do a really quick test right now and see if we can get our LEDs to work. So you need to plug in your Arduino to your computer because we need power to our Arduino at this point. And again, we're just going to test to make sure that our ground is accurate. So take your red wire, connect it to 5 volts. Then take your red wire and connect it to pin 1. You should see a red LED. Connect it to pin 3. You should see a green LED, and then connect it to pin 4, you should see a blue LED. Now, if you don't see those, then the first thing that you really want to check for is, did you put your LED in right? Okay, is the longest pin sharing the same row as the resistor going to ground? If it's not, check it again. Again, we have our wire in 5 volts. So basically now, right, 5 volts is going to go through our LED, through the resistor, back to ground again. We are protecting all 3 resistors with all 3 LEDs with 1 resistor connected to ground. We have the red, we have the green, and we have the blue. We've confirmed the fact that our LED is working. We're now going to start wiring it up to our board. So remember, we're going to be fading on and off. We're basically going to be using the same program that we had 2 days ago, the one where we like faded an LED up and then down. We're going to be doing that across like 3 LEDs in a specific pattern to give us like a nice RGB glowy goodness. Okay, so we need 3 PWM pins. You could easily use like 3, 5, and 6, but I just like 9, 10, and 11 because they're right next to one another. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is you're going to find your red pin, right? And your RGB LED is like the only time that I sanction this, but you're going to take your red wire and you're going to connect your red wire up to pin 9. So again, usually I don't suggest that you use red wires to go to digital pins, but this just helps us like visualize that that's the red LED, okay? Then the next is our green LED. That's going to go into pin 10. Then lastly, we have our blue LED. That's going to go into pin 11, right? So I have RGB, red, green, blue in 9, 10, and 11. Then on the LED side, in pin 1, I have my red. In pin 2, I have my grounds. In pin 3, I have my green. Then in pin 4, I have my blue. Okay, so as you guys go through that, I'm recording this, and I just forgot to record that. So again, I've commented everything out up here. I have my integer red LED is set to 9, green LED is set to 10, blue LED is set to 11. I have an interval for set to 10, which is going to be the speed at which colors change later on. And I've created the pin mode for my red LED, my green LED, which I have misspelled, and my blue LED. They're all going to be outputs. Okay? And now we're going to create just like a little test code, everybody, to like check our LEDs and make sure that they work. Okay? So usually for this code, you're going to be using like analog write and for loops and all of that type of stuff. But this is just as simple. We want to check and make sure our LEDs are functioning today. We're just going to use some digital write stuff. And we're going to digitally write red LED rather, high. Okay, so we're going to turn our red LED on. We are going to delay for like a second. Then we're going to digitally write our red LED low. Turn our red LED off. Okay. Then I'm going to copy and paste that 3 times. And so I turn my red on and then off. Then I'm going to turn my green on and then green off. And then I'm going to turn my blue on and then my blue off. Okay. And then I am going to save this as RGB LED. And then I'm going to upload my code. And because this is in our setup, it's only going to run once. So we're going to hit the reset button a couple times to like make sure things are good to go. But where's my code? My code is taking forever to load today for whatever reason. But once my code loads, we hit the reset button to redo this, right, we should see the red turn on, the green, and then the blue, and then they should turn off. Each one of those should be turning on for like 1 second. The red, the green, the blue. Okay. So if you don't have that working yet, we're going to continue to work on that here in a few minutes. But for those of you who do have it working, we don't actually want this stuff in our code, but like, let's say that you disconnect your LED to like bring your Arduino to school, or like something happens to your wiring and, you know, you got to rewire it again. We really want to be able to check our wiring every single time we rewire this. So let's save this code, but comment it out. So we're going to do like a multi-line comment, just like we do at the top. I'm going to start at the top with the backslash and an asterisk, and then I'm going to end underneath of that code with an asterisk and a backslash. And that's going to gray out all of these lines. So now these things are commented out. So this is test code to check LED wiring. We'll just leave that in there. And then again, if you need it later on, you just uncomment it out, and then you can like run this section and you can check to make sure your LED works. Okay. For those of you who have successfully gotten your LED to do this, red, green, blue, then you're done for today. File save.